just in my collar, it seems. Tactile Tech Thursdays, where we talk a little bit about what we're trying to achieve as a business. And we're going to have a set of ones over the next few weeks talking about a Innovate UK funded project that we're working with a number of other organisations on, including Baxi, the boiler company, around putting together a digital demonstrator for advanced services. So looking at how we can actually show people and showcase that the way that we can deliver advanced services. So what I thought would be useful was to show you our blueprint for advanced services. So what we go through is a number of iterative activities over the last couple of years to try and work out what we needed to do, what the customer believed they needed to do, and how we could end up putting that together as service that we could offer to our customer base. So what I want to do is show you this Advanced Services business model blueprint, and it's made up of 4 key areas. One is this customer value proposition that talks about who we're going to talk to, what we're trying to solve, what the benefit for them and us, and also what our value proposition is. So this is done from one, internal discussions where we've spoken with our staff who are delivering services to our customers and who are in the process of helping us develop new services. We've also then spoken to our customers and prospective customers about the kind of thing that we're doing at the moment, the kind of thing they're being delivered by other providers, and where the gaps are. We're looking for the pain that they're suffering and how we can actually give them the gain against that. So we're currently targeting mainly online organisations, supermarkets, and also construction space at the moment, because we believe that space has got some real need for what we're trying to offer. But it really stretches out from there into other spaces as well. Anywhere anybody's running infrastructure, either on premise or in cloud services, but are trying to move to something like containerized workloads to deliver it, and that's where we've seen the issue. The key thing we've found from the conversations we've had is a lot of people have limited resources, so few people to be able to effective design and deploy services for more modern technology purposes. Also, they're limited in the skills and experience they have in this space as well, especially around containers and Kubernetes environments. A lot of people are struggling to find the right people to deliver this, but also they're finding it also very difficult financially to fund them as well, because it's not only doing what you're doing today, but it's also doing the new things, so it's an additional cost. We also think that a lot of organisations are struggling with the monitoring of their infrastructure, especially if it's across different types of technology and also different physical or virtual environments. So they may have infrastructure on premise that is physical, so standard Windows physical servers. They may have also some virtualized estate, so VMware, Hyper-V type environments. And also they may be using some cloud services. So it might be all with one particular provider, or it could be a combination of multiple providers depending on either performance, pricing, or the service capabilities that are being offered as well. And because of that, they find it very complicated to monitor and manage the whole of the environments. Also, the way that they're monitoring, we're finding that only delivers some like event type activity. So it'll tell you there's been a failure, but the trouble is it might tell you about 50 failures, but really relates to one thing. And because the solution doesn't understand the underlying infrastructure, and it doesn't understand the relationships, the entity relationships between them, it struggles to identify that some of these are actually related to another fault. So you've got one particular issue, but then that looks like 50 different issues because of all the downstream activity you're getting from it. So what we can see there's some real value in, one, delivering those skills and capabilities around complex environments, but also providing better levels of automation and monitoring within an environment's infrastructure across multiple environments. On top of that, we've seen there's also a need for understanding how this relates to the business as well, which is not captured in this document. And it's something that we've picked up later on, where the organisation can understand any issues with the actual infrastructure and failures within that infrastructure or degradation, but they don't really see how that impacts the specific business services being delivered. So whether that's an e-commerce platform, an HR system, whatever type of solution that's been offered out there to the customer base, whether it's internal or external, they can't see how it relates. And also then it makes it difficult for the technical environment to be able to explain that to the business, and the impacts have been, what availabilities look like, what customer experience has been like. And I think that's a key area for a lot of organisations. Then finally, one of the real value in this proposition is to eradicate downtime. So if we can make sure that systems just continue to run, all the better. We may not be able to achieve that in some respects, but what we can do is help identify and fix a problem quicker than normal. So our drive is to reduce that time by around about 30 to 60%, depending on the infrastructure that we're monitoring and managing. Some of the other things, though, is from our perspective, we get the opportunity to cross-sell other services by understanding the customer's environment and helping them operate it better. We can see other areas that we can offer services, and again, we can do it in a joined-up manner, so we can actually add in these additional capabilities. So if the customer requires some high-performance storage system to be incorporated into their infrastructure, we can incorporate it, but it also ensure that we're actually delivering it as a managed service with all the monitoring and automation as well at the same time. There are some risk and some cost drivers in this. Financial conditions of customers are a little bit difficult at the moment because of this COVID-19 situation. I know there's been some announcements today by the government supporting employees with, I think it's up to 22% of their wages paid if they're not able to work full time. So, but that's still, there's still financial risk with a lot of organisations. We're also trying to, look at how we can help customers, maintain their profitability and maintain their financial viability by ensuring the infrastructure and the services they offer aren't impacted by outages and failure, and people then looking elsewhere and having this reputational issues that cause people to move away from it. If we move then to the value creation, the delivery, majority of what we're delivering is from cloud-based platforms predominantly, but there could be infrastructure on premise that we also provide, and we're looking to try and deliver in a consumer model. So you pay by the consumption, or you pay by the performance it delivers, rather than paying for a block of something that you may never use. So it's a challenge for us to do that, and we've got some challenges around who holds title for the equipment that's on premise, who has that asset on their financial books. So we've got some challenges in the way we do this, but we're working with a number of organisations to identify ways that we can deliver this. Also, we need to look at the enabling technologies. So there are a number of things that we can do to do this, and we are working with some very innovative ITOM and AIOps capabilities to be able to do that monitoring and management of a dynamic environment. We're also looking at advanced automation in there so that we can trying to automate as much of the remediation activity as possible, because that gives us two things. One is a quicker response, but also a consistent response, because especially if you have different people involved from different groups, we get a different, it's not as consistent, the response to that issue. So if we can increase the response time, but also improve the consistency by using automation, that helps the organisation and us to do that. We've also got technologies around deployment of certain technologies as well. So one of the key areas that people have been challenged is the deployment of container-based services. So putting together something like a Kubernetes platform on premise and ensuring you're getting the best performance and availability from it has been a real challenge for a lot of organizations. And what they've done in the end, because they've had that limited a number of skills and resources to be able to deliver it, and the experience to deliver it. What they've done is step back into older ways of doing things, such as using hypervisors like VMware and Hyper-V to deploy containers, because they've got some level of comfort in that space, because they've got some level of experience in it. But what you end up with is two downfalls from it. One is a reduction in the performance of those containers, because the hypervisor takes a percentage of the compute capacity from the infrastructure that's been utilized. But also, secondly, there is a financial impact, because everyone who's then licensing out either a Hyper-V or a VMware environment has additional costs for that hypervisor environment as well. And the more complex the environment, the more expensive that becomes. And also nowadays, it's also based on the amount of processor cores that you're utilizing again. So as it grows, it gets more expensive as well. So we're looking at technologies deployed to ensure we reduce the impact financially on licensing, but increase the amount of available performance capacity within the infrastructure that's deployed. We're also looking at business process, how we can actually improve business process in the way that we deploy. Getting that consistency, changing away from delivering things purely on a purchase, a capex model, towards more of an operational expenditure model using these consumer models. And also, we're looking at changing this partner-supplier relationship that we're delivering. We have suppliers that we're working with, and we are a supplier to our customers, but we're trying to change the way that relationship works so that we can actually support each other better in the way we do that. So some really key things we're trying to do there. On the competitive side, from our perspective, there are a lot of people out there delivering very similar things to what we were doing yesterday, effectively. So selling components of infrastructure based on an organisation doing the actual design work themselves, coming up with maybe 2 or 3 options to be able to then go out to market and see what they can get from a value perspective for that. And people are still, really driving that procurement model to try and reduce cost. And what we want to do is offer something quite different. So we're looking to deliver a capability rather than just a building block of it. So we're not offering Lego, we're offering the ability to run those containers, but also in an operation of them as well, around with the monitoring and all the rest of it that comes with that. From our perspective, we're going to have challenges with competition in that space. There are going to be other people that are looking to move into that space. We've got traditional infrastructure providers still, but we've also got the old style managed service and outsourcing people as well. So people who would take away your existing infrastructure and operate it for you. And in theoretically reducing the cost, but what tends to happen is that they don't update the infrastructure, so you end up 5 years later with the same old architecture that you had before. So there's not really a lot of value there. But I think what it gives people is that ability to pick and choose what works for them. So, using multiple cloud providers, having infrastructure on site, but not having to worry about operating all of it yourself, but also, building into it that automation capabilities that's going to make sure that you deal with an issue quickly and also consistently, which I think is a real thing there. There are some other pieces that we're looking to implement as part of this, is ensuring we've got such things as out-of-band management of infrastructure that's on site. So we're looking at deploying 4G, 5G technologies to be able to achieve that. Also data capture from there, so we can actually understand and predict failure if we can. Not all of this can be predicted and prevented at the moment, but we're looking at how we can predict and prevent failure, especially if you've got hot swap components within infrastructure and no single point of failure. That helps us to achieve that, and all we can do then is building that business process afterwards to replace components after failure, but quick enough to ensure that if we don't have the second fail, we don't have a complete outage. So there's a lot of things that we're trying to achieve in this, and I'm sure as organisations you're trying to do similar things. I'm open to conversations about this process that we're following, if anybody wants to go down it to understand how it fits alongside what you're trying to achieve as an organisation, and how we could work together. The second thing is, with this digital demonstrator, we had a meeting today, and all parties are quite keen to promote what they're trying to do with it. So what we're going to do over the next few weeks is have key figures from each of the partners in this project to talk about what they're trying to achieve, their approach they're taking, what the key takeaways are going to be from this project, where we can try and build a digital demonstrator so we can show people what you can actually get from these advanced services. But also we'll get some of the educational components from the Aston University's Advanced Services Group involved to show some of their thinking behind it, and also what they've achieved with large organisations in this space already to try and improve their businesses and changing what they deploy. So all quite interesting things from our perspective. I'm not sure if it's an area that you've looked at or seen to this point. We had the World Servitisation Conference last week. It was a virtual event run by Aston University, and it was quite interesting looking at what all other organisations are doing in this space, all the enabling capabilities and technology that are coming along, the kind of approach that people are taking in their own space in manufacturing, and it covers so much space. We've been in conversation with people that manufacture aircraft engines through to packaging for dispatch and courier type activity. So it can be anything in between, as well as one organisation is working with UV lighting to try and eradicate bacteria and viruses in space, which is quite apt at the moment with this COVID-19 situation. So hopefully, that will be of interest to you. I'm going to say it'll be every Thursday at 3 o'clock. We'll have one of the key partners talking through what they're doing. Baxi is one of them. We've got Siemens involved, looking at with enabling technologies, UV lighting. Cool Mill are a provider of infrastructure to mill rice, especially out in third world countries, and are looking at a different way of approaching that. So hopefully we can get Alec to take part in it as well. So it'll be really interesting, to see not only the differences but the commonalities in what we're trying to achieve. And from today's discussion, we had a meeting this morning, we could see there's a lot of commonalities in what we're trying to achieve, even though we're all doing something completely different in different space with different customers. What we're trying to achieve has got some level of commonality to it. So hopefully you found that interesting today. Come along next week, Thursday, and hopefully we'll have one of the partners on. I've got to schedule those off, so hopefully I can let people know who's going to be involved on what day before we kick off with that next Thursday. And our regular session on a Friday tomorrow is Vicada, and we'll talk more about the kind of services that we're offering around Vicada, including some of this telematics approach. So We're working with one of the leaders in the 3G, 4G network capability space, because we've got at least one, if not two, customers who are looking to deploy security cameras and air quality measurement into places where there is no connectivity currently, or they've got no access to connectivity in those spaces. So we're going to talk through some of the things that we're trying to achieve there and how we're going to achieve it as well. Right, thank you very much for your time today. Hopefully speak to you again tomorrow afternoon on the Vicada space, if not next week with one of my regular sessions. Thank you.